Layer 2 is released, and we're all still going through Layer 1. What the heck is gonna happen? I think that people are gonna drop off on Layer 1 and do a little more on Layer 2, but let's listen to the intro real quick.
I will give you a piece of my mind, cause I heard we only used like 10% of that, so I guess I got enough to lose. I run with dudes, what it means I gotta run a group, try and stay in shape while I'm making all these money moves. I got the brain power to solve the world's problems in under an hour. Any foes I will devour when I'm putting my mind to it. Snaking through and banging on my guitar, slapping the bass, kicking the drums and making music. I am a genius when it'll come to hitting your speakers and make them rumble. You couldn't find another one like I do, cause I am a master with a 5-digit IQ. I am a mastermind, I am a mastermind. I am a mastermind. I am a mastermind.
Alright, we'll just end that right there, give you a little taste, but go back to the nice and easy listening. So check this out. Obviously, there's been a lot of movement in the the Dark Overlord saga. I always like to start with a Google search to see, who's talking about it and who's doing what, and then obviously RT's kind of on top of this. So they're putting some stuff out, and then of course you got some stuff on Layer 2 and things coming out. We Are Changed, they did a real good breakdown. But so check this out. Let's go to, I saw an interesting post on Poll. This is a good breakdown, I thought. Being somewhat frustrated by by lack of any fruitful discussion of contents of 9/11 papers hack dump so far, the following is an attempt to summarize. It is a lot to take in, but in aggregate, you can see overall narrative of the insurance litigation beginning to unfold. The dump from Layer 1 and portions of Layer 2 gets all the way through the development of the subrogation proceedings regarding property damages specifically, i.e. Silverstein Properties, the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, and others. So what they're kind of saying right there is, if you remember from a previous video, we looked up the word subrogation, and it's basically, they're just trying to figure out who's at fault, basically, so that they can get paid. The end of the dump gets all the way through the plaintiff's filing in court against defendants, American Airlines, United Airlines, security firms, Massport Authority, Massachusetts Port Authority, Portland, Maine Port Authority, et al. The dump basically ends with documents regarding the airlines returning a motion to dismiss based on the fact numerous precedents the airliners' lawyers cite, as well as federal regulations, etc. Basically, the airlines claim that they were not negligent because they followed FAA guidelines, and that is about where the document dump ends. It is clear that the property damage lawyers are smart and have a lot of money behind them, much more than the individual cases of wrongful death, etc. Those are, so he's continued. Those other cases are outgunned, especially since the lawyers for Silverstein start off by lobbying Congress directly, way ahead of any other individual parties, even retaining Senator Bob Dole. They paid him $62,500 right out of the gate. So if you saw some of the other info, the other dumps, or I should say the other breakdowns of the Layer 1 dump, they talked about how Bob Dole was appointed to a steering committee, and what that was is to steer the investigation, basically to get them to look here, not there, and so I mean that's kind of damning, right out of the gate they're already lobbying Congress and they're already paying off people to start, basically lobbying for them. I mean, that's what it is. There is much discussion and brainstorming regarding who they can target for subrogation, including the airliners, Boeing, the FAA, the terrorists, estates themselves, the foreign entities, including banks and potential frozen assets. In one summary document regarding strategy, they discuss going after Boeing for not having automatic transponders standard, which could have saved valuable minutes, otherwise allowing the military to intervene like they did in Pennsylvania. And of course, that's United 93. And when I searched through the document the other day, I wasn't thinking straight, and I searched for Flight 93. I should have searched for United 93. Anyway, so I'll go back and do that later when I've some time, or you can do that and see if there's any more instances of it listed. If so, please tell me. That did not necessarily mean the military shot down the plane, but could allude to the fact that the jets were scrambled, so this is not a smoking gun on that by any means. It sounded like they did intervene, though. It's not that they could intervene. Oh well. In the end, it does not look like Boeing is targeted for subrogation. As some of the retained experts pointed out, the case is flimsy, but Boeing is such a big target for recovery they couldn't help but dream. They begin to tentatively look at what the U.S. government's foreknowledge is in the whole matter. This is the important part for all of us. I think this is what we're all really after. Including a detailed documentation of quotations and statements by Bush administration officials and members of Congress regarding whether the Bush administration knew anything important prior to the attack. Deep in the dump, there is a summary document following a massive insurance monies steering committee meeting, where it is directly referenced that one lawyer in attendance had made it clear to all that he expected some important information regarding that Bush administration had prior knowledge would soon become available, but the writer of the article calls it speculative. But if anything came of it, it would be the smoking gun, but it remains to be seen based on the limited dump so far. These are massively interesting documents regarding strategy against terrorist countries, banks, organizations. There is a huge list of reconnections? List of connections between Iraq and Al-Qaeda, which look verbatim like intelligence reports that were being pushed to the American people prior to invading Iraq. Stuff about the Muhammad Atta meeting in Iraq, Iraqi intelligence in Prague, etc. There's a giant exhaustive list of specific terrorists, including Saudi princes that are literally referred to as co-conspirators. There is some document that discusses going after Sudan for damages of $100 trillion. Later on, it became very clear that going off after any of the Saudis... Was that Sudan? Okay. Going after any of the Saudis, especially anyone connected to the royal family, is not going to find any favor with the feds. Okay. That's kind of interesting. Furthermore, as I think is already known, the Saudis enjoyed foreign immunity. It is also made abundantly clear to the lawyers that the FAA is not to be left on the list of defendants before the case gets filed. Ooh, interesting. As that will not find favor either with the feds. The lawyers also lament early on that sensitive security information, SSI, is going to be very difficult to gather during discovery. And you get the feeling reading all this that they are basically playing an intricate dance with the feds, trying to lobby them but not piss them off because they just want to get paid. The SSI material is a huge factor in what has not yet been revealed in the layers, because there is even mention that the government gets a 6-month lead on everyone during this discovery. This is a vital detail. And this guy was really dropping. Also, during one deposition transcript with former American Airlines employee at Logan Airport, there is a discussion of how she would inspect an airplane, and all of a sudden there is an objection from a government lawyer representing the TSA, which didn't exist on 9/11 but existed at the time of the deposition. I read through this, I believe, and her name is Bronwyn McKenzie, I think. If that's the one that they're referring to, but I think so because I remember reading through that. And they literally stopped the line of questioning on the grounds that it is SSI material. It's like, what the hell is going on? Why is the government lawyer sitting on all these depositions? Also, it becomes aware that the feds are funding a study into why the buildings collapsed to the tune of $23 million. Perhaps this refers to the NIST reports later released to the public. Huge revelations are made so far, especially the fact that the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey is simultaneously a plaintiff and a defendant. This is due to the fact that Pony had a separate insurance policy with Lloyd's of London, similar but separate to the policy that Silverstein Properties also has claim to. However, Pony is specifically targeted in the court suit for negligence regarding placement of fuel tanks in Building 7. These were fuel tanks that were big diesel fuel tanks that were on there on the building, and apparently it's claimed in here that it led to the fire that took down Building 7. And I think it was like in July or a few months prior to the 11th, these things were ordered to be moved by the Port Authority. They said that they had to move them because they were a hazard, and they were obviously not moved. From Building 7. So Citigroup, who was a significant tenant in the building, basically sues Pony for over $250 million. This remains to be seen if it is accurate, but they literally describe exactly how the steel near the diesel tanks became the primary failure point, causing Building 7 to collapse. Con Edison also has a claim against Pony due to the destruction of an underground substation below Building 7. Con Edison thing, when was that again? Also, there is some strange references to another case and law firm that had represented Pony in previous litigations regarding fire protection in the WTC towers, and this part is very interesting as it seems to imply that there was merit to the fact that the buildings were known to have inferior fire bearer protection and mismanagement of sprinkler riser systems, etc. Haven't got much into that yet, but it's definitely important to the case. So at the end of the dump, the airliners and security companies that are being sued in subrogation basically come back and claim they were not negligent and had basically adhered to at least the minimum guidelines dictated by the FAA and a bunch of code of federal regulations, etc. And that is where the story ends thus far. A bunch of other stuff on here. Oh, this guy pulled that up. Yeah, that's what the other dude was talking about. Alright, well, anyway, that was some of the most interesting stuff to me right now. I haven't had time to obviously finish layer 1, haven't even touched layer 2, haven't even decrypted layer 2, don't even know what's in layer 2 yet. So hopefully this weekend, I guess. Anyway, enjoy, and then I will leave you with one more, maybe. Do a little shameless self-promotion here. So I'll give you
you can just catch me laughing on the guitar and smashing up on the mats and looking for bones to crack and bend the joints till tapping. Not worried about my fashion, jeans and a tee or rocking a key. Matter of fact, don't matter to me as long as I'm living my passion. I am build as the main attraction. Lately gaining some major traction, making them strides, move it aside. A one-man band singing or rapping. I'm putting them up in the Lex Luger torture rack and sending them haters packing facts. Yeah, watch it fade to black, and I am recently back in action, fiending and looking to cracking up to the top 10. Not on the trend, rocking your heads and looking to cash in. You never seen nothing like me. Here is the caption, captain to crashing your ships, burn them to ashes, rubbing the mass. I ran out of matches. a killer on mics. The signs are pointing the figure is right. Colder than a pillar of ice in the middle of winter nights. Yikes, I'm looking alright. Intelligent when I get kicking it like, you know it's true. Check the IQ, high Mensa on a condenser mic. I'm building the tension, yeah, gentlemen, start your engines. I can get in the motors revving when I'm ready for my ascension. Pay attention, and yeah, I am on the prowl, wondering how I'm gonna be laying it down when I'm letting the animal out. I am planning it now. My standard is high, a matter of pride. I master a rhyme, a casual attitude, and scatter the mind. But my creative drive is 85 on a crazy night inside of the school zone when you're supposed to be going 25. I'm fully for certain, incredible when I get spitting my verses. Better believe there's no one like me anywhere on this earth, and probably other planetary systems I am rare to see. I heard Bigfoot's actually been looking for me.
And that's where we'll end it today. Like, share, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Appreciate it.